Welcome back to Sacred Arts Channel, where we discuss topics from the practical to the sacred. Today, we have a topic that is heavy on my mind as a small business owner. Treva Graves joins us today to discuss personal branding. Treva is the founder and CEO of Bloom Personal Branding and a global personal brand strategist. She's collaborated with numerous high-profile individuals, including best-selling authors, politicians, and executives, aiding them in enhancing their influence, impact, and credibility. Treva combines short-term strategies with long-term vision to bolster her clients' professional reputation. She's the best-selling author of Self-Doubt, Detox, 5 Steps to Beat Your Bully, and Bloom Confidence, which topped charts upon its 2023 release. An expert in communication and confidence, she has penned articles for major global websites and has been a regular presence on media platforms including Fox, CBS, Kelloland Living, where she served as an image and etiquette specialist. Welcome, Treva.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. I am especially interested in this topic. And, one of the first thing that comes to mind, because, I'm in the spiritual sector, I have a lot of friends and listeners that are also trying to find their way in the small business world. How can personal branding empower women specifically in the small business sector?
Yes, such a good question. And, personal branding really has become kind of the hot topic of this year. It's been around for a while, since the late 90s, but more and more, it's just become this question of what is it and how can it help me in my business, in my career, in my job? What is it and what do I need to do? And really, personal branding is all about self-awareness. So it's, first of all, discovering who you are. What are your strengths, your passion, your values, your purpose, and sort of crafting this story about yourself to share with the world. So personal branding really is about creating this energy, about becoming self-aware of who you are, sharing it with your specific audience, and telling your story. And that's really what sets you apart from other people that may be in the same, business or sector as you are. It's about creating your story and building those connections.
It sounds so simple, but yet I know I've tried to do that. It When we go down that rabbit hole, we tend to sometimes overthink things, and we start to see what other people are doing and maybe start to try those things. What would you say to somebody that's trying to plant their personal brand and trying to come up with that story? Are there any simple strategies that they can use?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you're comparing yourself to somebody else, I kindly ask you to stop because there is no one else on this earth like you. And, to try to be somebody else or to kind of copy what they're doing out there, that is not being authentic. And we've learned through research and recent studies on personal branding, it's that people want to do business with people they like, follow, trust, and that they have something in common with. I mean, I could go to the store and buy soap, and there's all these different kinds of soaps out there. But what makes me choose that soap? It could be, or a service. I could go to different hairstylists or therapists or whoever they may be. But what is it that makes me choose the person I choose? And it truly goes back to who they are, what their story is. It's that human emotion and connection. And that is how we see consumers today out in the marketplace making their decisions. It used to be that people would go to a company because they had this big brand, and it's like, oh, if they worked there, then they must be someone I could like or do business with. But the world has changed, and we see now that it's not necessarily about the company. It is about the person you work with in that company. And so that's kind of where we're at today. So it's it's really crafting the story. I'll probably talk a lot about your story and how to share that story today. But if you can create human connection with your audience or with your avatar or your customers, that is where you're going to see a big change in who you're working with and who your customers are.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear you reflect that, because a lot of the times when I'm either leaving a job or, leaving a team, one of the things that I always tell people is like, if you know of anybody that needs a jazzy, let me know, right? And I don't go
Uh-huh.
through like my resume, but they know what it's like to work with me. They know what it's like to experience me in partnership and teamwork and what I bring to the table. So I can highly identify with that.
Yes, yes, definitely.
I am wondering, what specific challenges do women face when developing a personal brand for their small business, and how can they navigate these challenges?
Yeah. Well, I've worked with a lot of women entrepreneurs. That's kind of my specialty, women leaders, women entrepreneurs. And there are a few things that come to mind. First of all, I find that women are afraid of not being liked. And so they are so afraid to put themselves out there because they think it's self-promotion. And you know what? In a way, it is. You have to be visible. You have to have um, that confidence in yourself to do it, whether it's in person, whether it's at a speaking engagement, on social media, on your website, wherever you are. And so that fear of being liked is one of the challenges I see. The another thing is, women are afraid to share their accomplishments. They're fearful of, it's like, hey, look at me, I've done this, I've done that, I graduated from here. I mean, we have to really take stock of our accomplishments and use that as to fuel your confidence, but also, gosh, don't be afraid to share that. We have to, that's just one way for me. If I'm having a down day for whatever reason and self-doubt's kind of creeping in my brain, and that imposter is saying, you're not good enough, you're never going to make it. One of the things I tell you is to think about the things that you've done and be proud of those accomplishments. Self-doubt is such a huge thing that holds women back, and men too. But I think I read a recent study, like 80% of people wake up every day with self-doubt in their brain. And that is so unfortunate. It's just, we're thinking with the wrong side of our brain. We have to stop listening to the negative and start focusing on the positives and all of the things that you have, your knowledge, and your passion, and share it with your audience, because guess what? They want to see you and they want to hear from you. So share it.
Absolutely. That really hits home for me, all of those. But in particularly being so afraid, like paralyzed almost, that I
Mm-hmm.
won't be liked. Are there any specific methods or something that you coach people through to be able to kind of let go of that? I think it's a visceral type of reaction, right? It's something that's embedded in us somehow. How do you coach somebody to be able to like move to the other side of the spectrum where it's like, it's okay if people don't like this, but this is who I
Yeah.
am?
Yes. focusing on the people that don't like you. I mean, here's an example. So, let's just say there's 10 people in your life, okay, that maybe you're around, you're surrounded by these 10 people. 9 of them may love you. One of them might not like you so much. And what does our brain do? It goes immediately to that one person who doesn't like you. That's because our brains from birth are wired for negativity, believe it or not. I mean, that's so unfortunate. Not to get all neuro on you, but we have the power to change that because our brains have plasticity. We can rewire our brains by thinking positively versus negatively. And so, like I said earlier, if you can focus on the 9 people that like you, let go of that other one, because it doesn't matter. Focus on the people and surrounding yourself with people that love you, your cheerleaders, your mentors. And another thing too is, if you don't believe in yourself, who will? Right? It starts with you. And believing in yourself is truly a choice. We have a choice every day to get up and be positive and have a great day, or maybe not so have a great day. But make the choice to be positive. And it starts with the belief system of, I am good enough, I am worthy, I am strong, I'm standing in my power. And for those people who don't support me, that's okay. That's okay. But I'm gonna hang out with the people that do like me, and I'm gonna educate my customers with the thought leadership or the education that I can give them to help them. I'm here to serve my customer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that comes to mind is energy flows where your attention goes.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's so true because I do tend to focus on the things that are not liked about me, or the one person that doesn't like me, and that shows in the way that I show up. And
Right.
but as soon as I start to have this gratitude and this
Mm.
relationship and reciprocity with those that are for me, that are, with the same energy, then things kind of open up and it starts to become easier.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, yes.
love that.
The word gratitude that you just said. So I love that word. I love that word. Yes. Um, that will just help you be more authentic in the connections that you make, and really taking to heart that by expressing your gratitude towards the people that truly do love you and want you to win and be your cheerleaders, those are the
Mhm.
people that you want in your life. Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanna go back a little bit on the, storytelling, because that's
Yes.
such a huge portion of personal branding, right? And for specifically for women entrepreneurs, how
Mhm.
might they harness their unique stories and experiences to shape something that's compelling and, to bring their brand forward in their narrative?
Yes. Yes. And this is the really the core of personal branding, is sharing your story. And it really goes back to what have you gone through in your life that now you've come out on the other side from? I mean, we all love the kind of the rags to riches story, somebody who falls down, picks themselves and picks themselves up, and now they're having success. Now, it doesn't mean we all have tragic stories or anything like that, but there's a reason why you're doing what you're doing. And that's where your story lies. It's If you can take that story and show your vulnerability. Brene Brown talks a lot about vulnerability and overcoming shame and all of those things. But if you can share your story in a vulnerable way, and putting yourself out there saying, you know what, I have been in your shoes. Here's my story. Here's how I overcame it. But now I want to help you. I want to help you overcome it. So being able to just share your vulnerable side, give them your why. Your why is really it's why you're doing what you're doing today. There's always a story behind the why. And so it doesn't matter what business you're in. If you're selling products, a service, an idea, a blog, whatever it is, it's sharing the story. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm really curious because right now I'm having this moment in my business where I'm really wanting to share my whole person, right? So many
Mm-hmm.
women juggle their roles as business leaders, caregivers, partners. I myself, right? I have a 9 to 5, or I'm a leader at a tech company. I'm an
Mm-hmm.
executive at a tech company. I'm also a Reiki practitioner.
Oh,
and
wow.
the way that I share my story is this is what happened. I fell apart in corporate because I was sobbing to work every single day and a piece of me was missing. And this is how I became whole again, but I'm still in the corporate world and I'm still doing this. And I found myself having this fragmented story of like, yeah, I'm really successful over here, but I'm also doing this thing where I'm helping people and empowering people, but also I'm a golfer and I'm also a wife and I enjoy my time as a wife. Like, how can we integrate these multifaceted roles into our personal brand without feeling fragmented?
Sure. Oh, gosh. That could be an entire day-long workshop. um, but I guess it's really going back to your values and your mission and what your purpose is. One of the things to remember when you're building your personal brand, first of all, your brand evolves and changes just like you do. So it doesn't mean like, okay, today I'm this, but 5 years from now, I could be something different,
Mhm.
so it will grow and change as you do. But if you're trying to reach a specific audience, like for me, my audience is women, uh, probably, 40 years on up, who are in leadership or an entrepreneur. Maybe she's a coach or an author as well, but she wants to get, her message out there. So I have a specific avatar or audience that I'm trying to reach. And so your brand can't be too all over the place. You really kind of have to niche it down. What is the core message that you're trying to share with about you, to help others? And so, for example, my message, I'll just share mine, and it's niched down to what did I overcome when I was young? I suffered from extreme self-doubt and insecurity. I was bullied. I was in a horrible marriage. I was bullied as a child. My self-esteem was, I felt like, crouching under a chair and not coming out. But I did the work. I became confident. And the core of what I do, even though I do personal branding, the core of what I do is I teach people how to believe in themselves. So that's really my message. My brand is I want people to look at me and say, that's the lady who can help me be confident. Oh, and by the way, she can help me with my personal brand. But it's so really niching down your message is crucial. So you're reaching the right audience or customer. I mean, we can, I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I'm not married to that mean man that I had in my previous younger days, but I'm now married to a wonderful man. But it's, we're moms, we're volunteers, we're leading committees, we're doing all these other things. But as far as, and you can talk about that. You can talk about that in your content and how you share yourself. But there's got to be a core message that really is the thread that runs through everything you talk about and everything you do. That's where you're going to find the most success if you're trying to, build your customer base, or move up the ladder. There's a phrase somebody told me once. It's like, Treva, if you have diluted focus, you're going to have diluted results. And so you need to have that core message about yourself figured out.
I love that. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, how can women use their personal brand to navigate networking opportunities in a way that feels authentic and effective?
Well, first of all, when you're going out or when you're networking, I mean, I'm in different, networking groups, but I'm always choosing the ones that will benefit me in reaching my audience to share my message. So I'm very, very selective on groups that I join, because you could join hundreds and hundreds of groups, but you can't give yourself to everything, right? And so be very selective about groups you join. Getting active in your community. Those are, I do chamber type. If your community has a chamber of commerce, it's getting out and networking and going to some of those types of events. There's all kinds of, like, LinkedIn has groups. I'm in the personal brand network on LinkedIn. I think I'm also in something it's called with emotional intelligence. So there's lots of groups, and if you commit to them, be really active in those groups, because that's where you're going to make more connections and build your credibility. And who knows where that may lead? A podcast guest, or getting interviewed for a publication or a website or something. So yes, networking is important, but make sure it's ones that serve your purpose.
It's really interesting. You talked a lot about digital networking. Is the physical networking still a thing these days, or has that kind of changed after COVID? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I think that, in-person networking definitely is still relevant. Even going to conferences, conferences have kind of come, the pendulum has swung back now, where people are anxious and excited to go to conferences instead of sitting in front of their computer. I mean, those are perfect places to network, and going to the mixers and things, in your community. Absolutely. But yes, digital networking has become massive. And I think there's a place for all of it. It's just, you probably will need to pick and choose, how much or how little you choose to be involved in them. I think a healthy mix is good.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Are there any particular elements of visual branding that resonate more with businesses ran by women, given today's social and cultural landscape?
Yes. Well, when you're choosing your visual branding, I hired someone to do that for me. And I guess I can kind of just use myself, because that's probably the easiest way for me to explain it. But, when you think about your logo, I thought a lot about my hobbies. What could I kind of incorporate into it? Colors I liked, fonts I liked. And, one of the, like my hobbies, I love flowers. I always love to have flowers around. And so in my logo, is a flower. It's a peony, actually, because that's my favorite flower. And bloom just sort of came about from this flower. It's growing, thriving, achieving, flourishing. And that's what I want to help people with. I want to help them grow, thrive, and achieve success. So flowers were a great way for me to incorporate some of my personal interests into my logo. So that's important to kind of think about. And then of course, color schemes. I have some reds, some kind of magenta. There's some pink in there. Of course, reds are more of a power color. Pinks are definitely more feminine, but it kind of all just went together with my vision for what I wanted to do and my clients, which are primarily 90% women. Of course, you can do a lot with fonts too. There's elegant fonts, which are more feminine, and then there's those bigger, bolder fonts. So you kind of have to think about, what is your brand personality? And that just goes down to really who you are. If you're this big, bold, and I don't know if loud is the right word, but just kind of this bigger personality, you might want to use fonts that are, more magnificent looking. I kind of wanted a more modern take, with a little bit of feminine there. So having a creative director to help you with that is that's how I would do it, because I could have never figured out all of that just by myself. So
Yeah,
yes, being
absolutely.
consistent. So if throughout everything, all of your, your website and colors and fonts and logos and content, it all needs to sort of weave together. So that's why having a digital person who specializes in that is great to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find that a lot of the platforms these days has some of those capabilities to allow you to be consistent. So, everything on my website, or, I have a certain color scheme. And then if I
Yes.
go over to like my email provider, they allow me to also input my same color scheme and all that good stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really
Mm-hmm.
interesting. I love your story about your logo, because I kind of did the same thing on my own
Yeah.
with my logo. My logo is a feminine tree, like it's a shape of a woman in a tree, and she's
Yes.
in this circle on top of like what looks like the evil eye with like the moon. And I have this affinity with the moon, and what I was trying to convey in that is like very like I'm very grounded, and this is a place for
Mm-hmm.
healing. This is a place to be able to come and be vulnerable, and it's very feminine, right? And so much like your logo, I wanted to convey what it was that people were going to get out of this. And I love that you incorporated bloom in there, because the first thing that I think of is like, oh, I'm going to bloom into this
Yes.
confident person, right? So yeah,
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
Yes. Thank you.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So those little things, there's color psychology. There's psychology in
Mhm.
everything we do. And whether you think about it or not, subconsciously, your customers, that they do take that all in. So
Yeah, they really
use
do.
whatever you can to your advantage. And it's like, what do you want to be known for? Your message, of course, but hopefully when they look at your logo, my logo, they think of, oh yeah, okay, that really does make sense for her. I can see
Yeah.
why she chose that.
Yeah, I
So
get that a lot.
yeah, yes.
I'm really interested to know because, being a woman in any industry, let alone a business owner, how can women entrepreneurs use personal branding to kind of counteract some stereotypes or biases that we might, encounter in any industry?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's another big one. I think building a very strong online presence is important. It helps, build your reputation. It can help attract people that are like-minded, like how you are. And it can create some, just some really valuable connections. And it's a way to I think for female entrepreneurs to really empower others by sharing your experiences, providing mentorship, creating opportunities for collaboration, kind of building that sense of community. You could start a private Facebook page or open up a Mighty Networks um, uh, account. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Yeah.
where you can like invite people in and just have some of those, private conversations, but highlighting your unique qualities, accomplishments, achievements, highlighting their skills in your groups can kind of, um, you know, they those types of things can challenge those preconceived notions and things, but um, I think really just empowering others. I mean, we as women, we have to we have to be strong together. And I always wondered, it's like, why do women, and I don't know, I wish I had the answer. And it's probably somewhere along the lines of jealousy or something, but it's like, why is it that women tear each other down sometimes, and it's probably because they're comparing themselves or jealous of their success or something. But you don't ever really see men doing that, and it's just we have to stay strong together. And I believe that every accomplishment that a woman makes is really a win for us all. I really do.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
I am a firm believer that empowered women empower other women.
Yes.
And I think that that's kind of the crux of it. Like when you asked that question, some of it came up like, oh, they just need to do a lot of self work, shadow work, inner work, right? I don't think it also is just with women because I have seen it in men too. It just appears in a different way.
Y- Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think as a whole we're getting better, I
I think so.
hope. We just need to stay on that course.
I
So,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that, our personal brand might not be the same in 5 years. It's going to
hmm
evolve, it's going to change.
hmm
As our businesses grow and we evolve, how can women ensure their personal brand remains consistent yet flexible to these changes?
hmm Oh, that is another good question. You know, I mean, life happens, things change, people change, jobs, careers change. I mean, I think I read somewhere the average person changes careers 7 times,
Mhm.
in their life. And I think people are changing jobs now more than ever. The average length of someone staying at a job is less than 2 years now. And so, um, you know, I don't think as a person, that through line that I keep talking about, the message, like my message, believe in yourself. I think for me, I don't know how that would ever change for me. It could, but we may have to, of course, create, how do I say this? Maybe like different different content. How are we going to, I think your message can stay the same, but I think you may have to change some of the strategy that you use to connect with your new audience, whatever that may be. So I don't think, like, I don't know, this is a hard one, but you don't necessarily change your message, and always staying true to your authentic self, never trying to be somebody else or copy somebody else, but growing and changing is it's a normal part of life. And so sometimes we may just have to tweak things a little bit, as long as you're just staying true to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, do you have any examples of female entrepreneurs who have effectively leveraged personal branding to elevate their small businesses? And what can we learn from their journeys?
Gosh, when I think of women entrepreneurs, in general, I think of people like, big time, like Oprah, who quite honestly is the queen of personal branding, because I mean, she came from enormously humble means, struggles, to becoming a self-made billionaire. I mean, if she can do it, anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But she's someone, read her story. Sometimes it is truly an amazing story. Even someone like a, uh, Greta Thunberg, who was
Mm-hmm.
this teenager who had a passion about the climate and climate change. Look how she's evolved and changed. I mean, some of these women, you may love them, you may not like them too much. It doesn't matter, but it's amazing how you've seen them grow and change too. So she was young a few years ago. Now she's blossomed into this lovely young woman who still speaks out on it, has a huge following. Another person I think of is, these are all big name people, but like Sarah Blakely, who developed Spanx. Uh, you know, she just had an idea, who, one day just cut the bottoms off of her nylons because she was hot and didn't want to have her feet sweating in pumps. And all of a sudden now, she created this, $1 billion company and sold it for billions of dollars. But gosh, if you have an idea, um, I, I would, don't sell yourself short. Pursue it. Check it out. You know, do some surveys. Watch Shark Tank. I mean, I mean, there's, never sell yourself short, because some of the strangest ideas have turned out to be very successful businesses. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's so many out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that from your perspective. So just wanted to give a little bit of time to maybe share with our audience what you're up to these days. Where can they find your book?
Yeah.
How can they, reach out or follow you?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me today. So you can find me at bloompersonalbranding.com, and there you will learn all about me and all about the things that I do that can help you build your confidence and your brand. Some of the exciting things that are happening right now, I just published my book. I've got a couple of books on Amazon, but this one hit the bestseller list. It's called Self-Doubt Detox, like you mentioned earlier. That is available on Amazon and on my website. And coming up for 2024, I am holding 2 confidence retreats for women. this information will be coming out very soon, so stay tuned to my website for more information. But they are in, one weekend is in February and another one is in March, and it is called Flourish. And we're accepting a very small number of women for each retreat. And you're going to come and learn all kinds of ways to look and feel confident, lots of self-love. We're going to do all kinds of really fun activities with that. So I'm really excited about that because this is something very new for me. And I love keeping things very intimate. I just feel like that's a really good way to bond and have wonderful connections and make lifelong friendships. So that's exciting. And if you want to join my email newsletter, I send a newsletter out once a week with a little daily dose or a weekly dose, excuse me, of inspiration. So just reach out to me at Treva at bloompersonalbranding.com and I can get you added to the list. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Those are my 3 platforms. I can't do them all. So if you just look me up under Bloom Personal Branding, I'm there. So I hope you'll join me on the confidence retreat or choose to get my email or buy my book. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. I'm actually going to link all of that down below to make it easy for our listeners to be able to get in contact and check out your conference or your retreats for next year and your
Yeah.
book as well. And so thank you so much. We hope to have you back again on Sacred Arts in the future to continue this conversation. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and joining us today.
Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun for me.
Yes, absolutely. I learned a ton. For all our listeners, if you enjoyed today's content, please drop a comment or a little emoji down below. That will help us with the algorithm. Also, subscribe and like, and we will see you on the next episode.